Clear for takeoff 36, runway heading for flight 585. Alright, final approach is clear. Lead pressure looks good so far. We'll do a
full flight 585, keep the wheels rolling, traffic on our 4-mile final.
Roger, keep rolling, thanks, 4585. Alright, pressure looks good, we're at 42 PSIG.
Cancel takeoff.
Alright, canceling takeoff clearance for flight 585.
4 flight 585, make a 180 when able, and then reposition for a 36 departure.
180 when able, and for a 36 departure, 4 flight 585.
90 Juliet, go around and stand by for coordination with New Orleans.
Go around 90 Juliet.
90 Juliet, avoid overflight of the Vision jet on the runway.
Alright, making a right turn over flying Top Gun. Good morning, departure Vision jet 379 Juliet Mike 1.5 for 3000 and the turn to 090.
379 Juliet Mike, turn right heading 140.
Right turn 140, 9 Juliet Mike.
379 Juliet Mike, turn right heading 180.
Right turn 180, 9 Juliet Mike. Clear for takeoff runway 19, 379 Juliet Mike.
Hello everybody, hope you're doing well and thank you so much for coming along in this video. In this video today, I'm going to show you a takeoff from runway 36 in Hammond, Louisiana. You'll see that I have received the ATIS Information India and also a taxi clearance from ground control. I am preparing to taxi from the Top Gun Aviation ramp over to runway 36, where I'll hold short waiting for the ATC clearance for takeoff. This video is sponsored in part by SF50 Flight Support. Check out sf50flightsupport.com for more information. We make jet ownership better with comprehensive services for owners, pilots, and operators of SF50 Vision jets. Prior to all flights, a pilot must conduct a comprehensive pre-flight process to obtain all relevant information germane to the safe outcome of the flight. This includes the use of a system such as the 3P process, as well as the Flight Risk Assessment Tool, or FRAT. I'll provide a link in the description so that you can obtain more information about the 3P process and FRAT if you wish. As part of the process, pilots should also plan their takeoff based upon the totality of information. Knowing the wind direction and velocity are critical, since it's always best to take off into the wind versus a tailwind. We also need to understand the runway conditions and the total runway distance available for the takeoff. We further need to understand the total distance required for the takeoff based upon actual atmospheric conditions and aircraft weight. In this case, the winds were out of the north at 10 knots, gusting to 16 knots. Sky conditions were clear with good visibility. The temperature was 13 degrees Celsius and the altimeter was 3031. Based upon these conditions, it was determined that runway 36 would be the best option for our takeoff and was also the active runway according to the ATIS information. Runway 36 is 5,001 feet long. Based upon current conditions, the total takeoff distance was calculated to be about 2,504 feet, which gives us plenty of room not only for the takeoff, but also for a safety margin in case of an aborted takeoff. Knowing this ahead of time is critical information because had this runway only been about 3,000 feet, it could present some risk if you had an aborted takeoff scenario, which we did. My intention was to perform a static takeoff for runway 36. This would allow me to assess how well the new pressure regulating shutoff valve was functioning prior to takeoff. A static takeoff is when the pilot positions the aircraft on the center line of the runway and symmetrically applies brakes and full throttle. Of course, after a takeoff clearance is received. Once full takeoff power is achieved, the pilot will symmetrically release the brakes and begin traveling down the runway, tracking the center line from this point. The pilot then steers the aircraft, in the case of the Vision jet anyway, using differential braking as well as aileron inputs based upon wind direction and crosswind control. All of this went pretty much as planned until it didn't. I was given a takeoff clearance and began to roll onto runway 36 to position the aircraft on the center line. Again, my intention was to conduct a static takeoff, not a dynamic takeoff. In other words, I was going to line the aircraft up with the center line and come to a full stop prior to adding full power. In this case, the tower controller told me to basically conduct a dynamic takeoff by keeping the wheels rolling and execute a takeoff without stopping on the runway. This was due to the fact that there was an aircraft on a 5-mile final for runway 36 behind us. At this point, it might be helpful to also explain what a dynamic takeoff is. A dynamic takeoff is when the pilot steers the aircraft onto the center line of the runway and begins to add power to begin takeoff roll up to full takeoff speed. This is done without stopping, like the static takeoff. I mentor pilots with various levels of experience. I often talk to them about developing pilot techniques, including hand flying skills, as well as the ability to perform static or dynamic takeoffs. You might be surprised to know that a lot of pilots prefer to conduct static takeoffs because it gives them a little bit more time prior to the establishment of the takeoff roll to make sure everything is working as it should be. But it's important to be able to perform either dynamic or static takeoffs, depending upon the circumstances. Typically speaking, static takeoffs are used typically under two circumstances. The first will be when you are giving a lineup and wait clearance by the tower controller, which allows you to move onto the runway, line up with the center line, and come to a full stop, waiting until your clearance for takeoff. The other condition is when the runway distance is shorter than average, or the distance available for takeoff is shorter than average. You can perform a short field takeoff using the static technique. Again, in this situation, I was planning a static takeoff because I wanted to have time to assess the performance of the pressure regulating shutoff valve prior to actually lifting off the runway. As you will see, once I received the takeoff clearance from ATC, I entered the runway and turned the plane to line up with the center line. While doing so, ATC then instructed me to keep rolling and execute a dynamic takeoff due to traffic on a 5-mile final for the same runway. This was contrary to my original plan, but I knew I had plenty of runway available for either kind of takeoff and was comfortable with either takeoff technique.
Hey everybody, I hope you're doing well. Thanks a lot for coming along in this video today. In this video today, we are departing Hammond, Louisiana on our way back to Nashville, Tennessee in a Generation 2 Plus Vision Jet. This is a Vision Jet that's been down here for maintenance, unscheduled maintenance. We had a pressure regulating shutoff valve which controls cabin pressurization and climate control. Had that fail about 9 weeks ago, and finally got the part from Cirrus and they repaired the aircraft.
Full flight 585, runway 36, fly runway heading, wind 010 at 11, gust 18, clear for takeoff.
Clear for takeoff 36, runway heading, full flight 585. Alright, final approach is clear. Lead pressure looks good so far. We'll do a
full flight 585, keep the wheels rolling, traffic on a 4-mile final.
Roger, keep rolling, thanks, full flight 585. Alright, pressure looks good. We're at 42 PSIG. Alright, canceling takeoff clearance, full flight 585.
Full flight 585, make a 180 when able, and then reposition for a 36 departure.
180 when able, and for a 36 departure, full flight 585.
90 Juliet, go around and stand by for coordination with New Orleans.
Go around 90 Juliet.
90 Juliet, avoid overflight of the Vision Jet on the runway.
Alright, making a right turn over flying Top Gun.
Some of you might be watching this video and watching my aborted takeoff and saying that it was relatively uneventful. This is true because I wanted to avoid what is called a high energy event. There are basically 5 types of high energy events, one of which is an aborted takeoff. In the Vision Jet, you must delay flying the aircraft 30 minutes after a high energy event. This is due to high brake temperatures that might be encountered during a typical or high speed or dynamic rejected takeoff. It would have been a different story if I would have had to abort the takeoff due to something on the runway or other immediate hazard. I actually do not even know why the takeoff clearance was canceled. It could have been related to something involving approach control.
For flight 585, fly runway heading runway 36, clear for takeoff, wind 02011, gust 18.
Clear takeoff runway 36, runway heading full flight 585.
90 Juliet, runway
pressure
18,
looks
clear
good.
land, correction runway 36,
Takeoff power is
wind
set.
02011, gust 18. That Cirrus jet is rolling now, no factor.
Alright, 36 cleared 2 line 90 Juliet.
All right, airspeed is alive, 60 by the markers. And let's rotate. Pause the rate. Here coming up. All right, through 115, the flaps coming up.
For flight 585, contact departure, safe flight, see ya.
Over departure, I'm great 4 flight 585.
Caps available.
You might notice my technique as I conducted the 180-degree turn on the runway and that I did not line up with the center line of the runway to back taxi. That was because I was taught in my primary flight training to back taxi on one side of the runway or the other, not the center line. This is because this gives the pilot the ability to dart off the runway in a hurry if another aircraft is in conflict. Oftentimes, there are small, local airports that have no taxiways leading to the departure end of the runway. So sometimes you have to back taxi the full length of the runway in order to depart. These airports are often non-towered or pilot-controlled where pilots are not necessarily required to even use the radio. So back taxiing by picking one side or the other provides a little bit of a safety margin. It allows you to quickly get off the runway if suddenly another aircraft attempts to land. In addition, you'll notice that once it was time to conduct the other 180-degree turn to line up for runway 36, being positioned along the right side of the runway allowed me to line up with the center line quite effortlessly. Undoubtedly, having an aircraft abort its takeoff while having another aircraft go around are abnormal operations, and some of you might even say dangerous. While I don't disagree, pilot competency and currency must involve familiarity and capability to conduct abnormal operations from time to time, and do so naturally and easily without causing additional complications due to a failure in pilot technique. Thank you so much for watching the video.
Sorry, 37.
Safe flying, and we'll see you on the next flight. Thank you so much for watching this video. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Click on the notification bell so you'll be the first to be notified when new video content is posted. And I can't thank you enough for your questions, comments, and feedback. Until next time, safe flying, and we'll see you on the next flight.